It's no secret that we're going through difficult political times, geopolitical times. Our government is engaged on some level, on and off, in negotiations, whether it's border demarcation, whether it is opening transportation routes, and we saw this recently in Sochi, and we're going to see it in a couple of weeks in Brussels. You're obviously not a political person, you're not a diplomat, but you have spent your entire life, dealing with high-level negotiations with governments, businesses, on matters that are, in the billions of dollars, or matters of state policy. If people would ask you, what is your general advice about what should be the approach of our government and our foreign policy establishment in the conversations that are going to be going on for the next couple of years in regards to Armenia and Artsakh, what would be your advice?
Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to address that, because I completely agree with your preamble that I'm not speaking as a professional, but I'm speaking as a stakeholder in the outcome, as an Armenian and an active Armenian. So if you care about the outcome, then you are part of the process. You have to be. So I want to say two things, if I may. One relating to the current negotiations and what's happening, and the second is the diaspora, because it's interconnected to me. I'm very worried that things might have unintended consequences if they go a particular way. As it relates to the Artsakh matter, I would observe that when the first Artsakh war happened, all of the world's countries stepped in and said, you cannot solve this by force. There has to be a period of peace, and the people need to demonstrate their ability to coexist. Unfortunately, calculations were made, which in hindsight have proven to be not necessarily the right ones, but in hindsight, that the more this goes on, the better for us. And we did not seize the moment after a few years of coexistence to actually resolve. But today, we are in the same situation in reverse. We have suffered a defeat at some level, and we are grieving, and we have major losses. And I think it would be appropriate for the world, but in any event, our policy, to reflect that need to have a period, 3-5 years, of demonstrated peaceful coexistence before some of these things are forced upon us. I do not believe, as one member of the Armenian nation, I do not believe that a forced solution will last. I do not believe in history that forced solutions, at least recent history, are going to yield peaceful coexistence. This issue will come back over and over, and that same principle that prevented a forced solution 25 years ago, I think should be in people's minds today. So that's one thing I would say, is that, lines of demarcation, establishing borders, what we should be thinking about, in my humble view, is that we should create a line of separation, have the Russians who've stepped in to help us preserve peace, protect each side from the other, show that people can actually have respect to each other and coexist, and then start, now having learned a lesson that delay is not the best way to an answer, we can get this thing addressed in a way that the Artsakh Armenian community can actually feel is legitimate and not forced upon them. So that's one general thought I have. So I worry a lot that a current, albeit elected government, representing not just the country but the nation, actually agree on things under the threat of a gun. We went through this 100 years ago. The treaty that established our borders with Turkey was extracted in a similar way. And here we are 100 years later arguing over borders, because that's not a lasting peace. And that's not a lasting peace vis-a-vis Turkey, and it won't be a lasting peace, in my view, vis-a-vis Azerbaijan. It's not the right international way of doing these, I believe. The second thing is the diaspora, Eric, and here I have even more concerns. I think that because of Armenia's making yet another calculated, in my view, mistake in hindsight of treating the diaspora as a bank account, but very little else, we now risk completely alienating the diaspora. The diaspora has neither been asked, consulted, discussed with at all. I have not met any head of an institution, any individual that would tell me, yeah, at least they're asking me secretly whether, not that they need permission, but if you don't give constituency during an event like this, why would you expect 3 years from now that people are going to come and build back schools and build back this and that? Because they're going to feel like, when it mattered, we didn't matter. And now that you made a set of decisions, we have to come and do our duty again without asking any questions. And I'm really worried that the diaspora will not take that trade. And I'm very, very worried that steps should be taken today so that at least there's a sense of a collective commitment to not only the present problem, but then also the future. So we keep working together in building a better future. So you might think these two things are unrelated, but what I see in front of me, I'll tell you, Eric, for your audience to understand how it feels with me sitting in Boston dealing with saving lives in the pandemic as much as I can, but seeing lives lost in Artsakh. I feel like for 25 years, at least the 20 years I went there, we had a tough situation and we were getting better and better and better. Right now, it feels like almost we've become a patient, somewhat in a coma, and we in the diaspora have to watch the patient hopefully survive the coma, survive a surgery, and there's nothing we can do. Not only are we not in any close to the hospital, we have no idea what's going on. And that feeling of helplessness, in my view, is gonna drop important roots into what the future looks like. And I worry about that, and I really hope that the leadership, both in the country and in various institutions, protect the important relationship and interdependence. I think it's being frayed massively.